Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Super Mario Bros. 3. In the last part we started off World 7 after finishing off World 6, and now we're in the best live grinding location in the game. World 7 Fortress 1. Its first room is this giant brick-filled room with a P-switch that you can hit and fly all the way down to the floor and grab probably about 20-30 coins by the time it ends. But the exit to this level, is hidden. And you need a Tanuki suit, which there is one hidden in the level, or a raccoon leaf to reach. You need to fly to the top of this room. But if you head to the right, you'll end up going into another door that takes you on a path that loops back to the brick room, with all the bricks respawned. So you can just constantly abuse that room to get a lot of extra lives pretty quickly, and by the time the timer runs out, probably have gotten enough that the timer death will not matter whatsoever. I've done it a lot. Not doing it here, though, because I've got 73 lives. If I run out, something horrible went wrong. Bit late to have a castle this good for grinding, admittedly. It's kind of sad. If this were in, like, World 2, it'd be real easy to do, and I probably would have done it then. But it being in the second to last world, it's kind of limiting on what you can do with it. Unfortunately, despite me saying that the game's levels are already short and unremarkable just because of it, the next level is one of the longest levels in the game and one of my least favorites. Admittedly, you can make it easier because I think there's enough room at the very start if you're, like, perfect with running. You can build up enough momentum to get P-speed and fly over the bricks over to my right and just end up at the goal. But we got a Pac-Man syndrome level that's entirely vertical again. But this one has something unique to it. See that exclamation point block up there? When you jump on that, you spawn a little phantom of the platform that moves in a certain direction, and you can change which direction it's going by jumping on it. But there are some matching ones that are arrows that will only go in that one direction. You gotta use the platforms to your advantage and use the Pac-Man syndrome to just get around to the end. It's sort of an auto-scroller of a different name at the end of the day, really. And that's why it's one of my least favorites. If this were just a level where you only had, like, the exclamation point blocks and could use them to maybe even make some shortcuts that they thought out if you were good about spotting the Pac-Man syndrome's properties correctly, it's just kind of a tedious level. I'm not a fan of it. Honestly, it's always funny to me that usually my least favorite levels in a platformer aren't the hardest levels, it's the ones that are very tedious feeling. Like, despite me not liking the enemies of Metropolis Zone in Sonic 2, I genuinely think that the worst zone in that game is Oil Ocean or Hilltop because they're just kind of weirdly tedious. Notably, though, the exclamation point block arrow ghosts can never go down. So, be careful if you're trying to make room for the spikes above you. I constantly forget that I basically get hit there almost every single time I play the game, unfortunately. And what's especially interesting about this to me is that this level is followed up by honestly one of my favorite levels in the game. In a way of, sometimes you should just look at levels and go, it's good to have longer levels, as long as they are worth their length and do something interesting. But if you have a shorter level, that's a very smart idea, and you just nail that, it can also really work. Because 7-7, I think it's the next level, is one of my favorites in the game, period. A little samey to, admittedly, the Muncher levels that are located in a few spots here throughout World 7. But, honestly, those levels are just aesthetic difference levels more than anything. 7-7 is a marathon level, where your entire goal is to go fast. But it's your goal to go fast while you carry forward a Starman. This is meant to be the level that introduces you to the fact that if you hit question mark blocks while you have a star, they're likely to give you a star. And you wanna kind of just keep the star barely ahead of you as you walk forward, trying to time as best you can grabbing the Starman for the end of the last invincibility, because you're not making all this on one star. If you are, you're probably some sort of tasser, honestly. And this is where you want to just start gunning it, and there's something about that that feels so good. from my limited time in Mario Maker, many people try to do that same type of level, and usually either make it too much or kind of mess up some timing stuff. Not for nothing though, I look back at Mario Maker, now that we're sort of past Mario Maker 2 as well when it comes to, like, major updates. Those games, I think, have done a lot more good than bad. Like, yeah, just law of averages, you're gonna have a lot of kids making levels for the first time that aren't exactly great or having interesting ideas done to them. But it flexed creativity in a way that I really appreciate, that I feel sometimes more games need to do. Like, that's why I really like the drawn-to-life games. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're just making a different colored platform that does something different mechanically, but it allows you to flex the creativity, and I like when games allow you to do that. Also, I spent an extra moment in this level trying to get to a coin heaven that I just completely forget about. But I should note something about this level that I actually want to mention in specific. I want to rectify something I said a couple of parts ago. There's more than one Hammer Brothers suit just found normally in the game's level design. There's actually one in this level, and it's right about below me, where the Patooey is, the walking, piranha plants that's on top of two pipes. The left pipe leads you to a Hammer Brothers suit room. So, you can grab one there. Again, that's only like two, and there might be a third somewhere else, but that's still a lot less common like the Tanuki suit is overall, and even the Frog suit, just with how the game's luck tends to be. Because I think out of the rare power-ups, the Frog suit is easily the most common when it comes to, like, Toad House drops. Ooh, game, you're spoiling me! Honestly, getting 3 of those is practically unheard of for my luck. I usually at most get 1 in a playthrough, so I'll take this. Either way, welcome to 7-9. This level's a little interesting in that it's a gigantic pipe maze. I'm flying here just to save myself the climb up through the actual pipes, which would be a little slower. You can't run all the way to the right to reach the exit. You need to find the pipe in this maze, and to find it, come up here to the top, come down here to the note blocks, head left, and then when you get to your next fork, which is a break in the pipes above and below you, you want to take the upper route, and from there, there is a split, but it just leads to more coins, so you don't need to worry too much about actually getting lost. Honestly, this vertical jump there, that's probably one of the hardest parts there, because if you miss that, you could easily fall down, and getting back up, weirdly complicated, because I think that height of block requires you to have a running jump to reach up there, and that might be a little tight to make. There are a lot of side paths. They usually terminate in some coins, though. Maybe a power-up here and there. Not a lot to really worry about getting, because I don't even think there's, like, say, if you get all the coins here, you get a white mushroom house. No, it's just an actual maze to find your way through. And I appreciate that weirdly, because straight-up mazes are kind of uncommon in Mario. Usually it's like, choose the right path 3 times in a row and we'll let you through, or find the correct door in a ghost house kind of situation. But now we're in Fortress 7-2. And I'm bringing in my buddy the Hammer Brothers suit, because I got 3 of these things to showcase its power. Okay, you cannot kill Rotodiscs with them. For some reason I thought you could. 7-2, if you don't bring a projectile weapon like a Fire Flower or this, is honestly really annoying because you have some really high jumps that have piranha plants in them, and obviously that means if you're going at the wrong time, you'll just take a cheap hit. This is a very dangerous fortress, not only because of that, but because of the lava constantly around you. Make your jumps here count, and especially if they're long-distance ones, maybe clench your controller a bit harder than you need to, just to make yourself feel a little safer. I also want to say this level is one of the only levels in the game that has an actual overhang jump, where you're kind of like on a C-shaped platform with the pipe in the middle of the sea and you're on top. And to the right of the sea is lava. So you need to just sort of like hang left as you fall to get into the pipe. I think it's a little easier in this game's case if you try to just edge yourself off the cliff and then hang left rather than jumping. If only because, while you have more airtime with the jump, I think your momentum might end up screwing you over there. Yeah, right here, you just kind of gotta hang left. It's a little uncomfortable, but the game controls well enough that it shouldn't be that big a problem. And that brings us over to Boom Boom's relative location. Can even kill Dry Bones with the hammer suit. Can't do that, I think, with anything else in the game, and there it goes. Thank God I have 2 more of them. Oh God, got it, Mario! I am kind kind of surprised they don't give Bob-omb a straight-up weapon in this game. Sort of like just a fireball to throw over here and there. It's like the only other upgrade that they could give Bob-omb to make him a more confident boss fight in this particular game. Once he started showing up in 3D games, and I think even 2.5D, he started getting like a boomerang attack of sorts alongside an actual spin attack, which made him more of a threat overall, but he's still Bob-omb. Time for another Muncher level. Again, use a star at the start of it just to ignore basically the early half of the challenge, and you might even reach the level before it's even much of a threat at all. And I will take that free mushroom. I would rather have a P-wing, but you know what? I guess I'll take that. Sure. And thus we're on to the final airship level, sort of. More on that when we're in World 8. Would I say this is the hardest airship level? Yes, just for the level section, but honestly, the coupling at the end of this isn't as threatening as Lemmy or Wendy, I find. And it's one of the few couplings I'll always remember by name, because I kind of get some of the early ones confused, particularly I think it's Iggy and Larry. Lemmy, I always get them confused. But Wendy, Morton, Roy, and this one I always remember because their designs are much more distinct from one another. Also used the P-wing to make this level a complete non-issue. Whee! Well, it's not the Wii, this is the NES. Lowbrow humor. If there's anything I can say about auto-scrollers nowadays in games, from the ones I've played at least that come out nowadays that have auto-scrollers, I appreciate that either they usually give the player more to do while you're actually doing the auto-scrolling section, or they make the auto-scrollers themselves faster to compensate for the concept. Like, the few sections of Shovel Knight that are an auto-scroller are generally more active than any of the ones here in Mario 3, Mario World, or any of the few Mega Man ones even, because I'm immediately thinking the Propeller Knight stage in particular, of the wind mechanics, the amount of enemies they got going on, or the pogo jumping you have to do. I think that's a good way to do an auto-scroller. If you make it like this where it's a bunch of waiting at times, it's just not very interesting, it's really tedious and slow. I want to say we're coming up on the end of this level. Let me check the time. Yeah, we're coming up on the end of it. You'd think with auto-scrollers, because you're in it for longer, especially if you die a lot, you'd memorize more about the level design there. I've never really done that. And what's weird is, I memorize things in, like, bike-type or car or vehicle-type levels easily, like, the ride-bike stages in X4, 5, and 6, but not so much auto-scrollers. Either way, final coupling is Ludwig, and he killed me. Ludwig has Morton and Roy's shaking ability. He very often fires his magic cane. He's easily the hardest of the non-ball throwing couplings, but at the end of the day, he's still a coupling. 3 shots, he's out of there. That's all 7 couplings taken care of, which would theoretically be the entire thread. But no, we got a little more to do. So, let's see what we got from our final, letter from Peach. Yo! I kidnapped the princess while you were running around. She's here in my castle if you dare to try and rescue her. King of the Koopa. Well, she wasn't kidnapped for most of the game. If anything, this will probably be one of our faster turnaround times. Welcome to World 8. World 8 has a bunch of Bowser's Army in it, comprised of basically airship stages of a different visual type. We got some Navy levels, we got this, which is the tank levels, and they are chaotic. World 8, I'd say, is probably the most chaotic world overall, even if the actual normal levels when we get to them aren't that bad in comparison. One thing I should note, by the way, be careful of the bombs in Mario 3, because their explosion is bigger than you think. I think anywhere the stars touch when they explode is a damage zone, so be careful. So, while we're stuck in some of the bigger auto-scrollers, why don't we finally read that manual I forgot to read earlier in the LP, huh? See what the actual story of the game is all about. The Mushroom Kingdom has been a peaceful place thanks to the brave deeds of Mario and Luigi. The Mushroom Kingdom forms an entrance to the Mushroom World where all is not well. Okay. Bowser has sent his 7 children to make mischief as they please in the normally peaceful Mushroom World. They stole the royal magic wands from each country in the Mushroom World and used them to turn their kings into animals, so it's pretty literal in this game. Mario and Luigi must recover the royal magic wands from Bowser's 7 kids, which, by the way, would later retcon to not be his kids, only Bowser Jr. is his kid now, supposedly, to return the kings to their true forms. Goodbye and good luck, said the Princess and Toad as Mario and Luigi set off on their journey deep into the Mushroom World. Well, we're no longer in Mushroom World, we're in Bowser Land now. And I think later in the manual, I want to say there's little bios for each individual world. Let's see here. Yeah, here they are. For instance, World 1 is Grassland. This is where Mario starts his journey. Many slopes and new enemies await your every move. Yeah, because now that I think about it, this is the first Mario game where slopes were a thing. You can just slide down them by pressing down. I think I forgot to mention that. Mario 1 and 2 just didn't have slopes, period. By the way, at the end of every single one of these levels, there's a bit of a mini-boss, usually against one of the Hammer Brothers variants. I think the last one will have a Boom-Boom in it. And before I continue on, we're quickly heading into Bowser's Navy. This level is interesting in that if you're really precise and good at mashing, you can just swim underneath every single one of these ships. But you need to be careful, and I think you can only really easily do it as Small Mario, because there is a bottomless pit down there. So you just kind of need to skirt the very bottom of it. It's really tight. I can do it semi-consistently, but I try to here and I fail. It allows you to theoretically skip all the actual hazards and just have to mash the button, but it does come with some difficulty. And I want to say they made it harder in one of the re-releases. Either way, World 2, Desert Land. Be careful, the desert's conquered its share of wary travelers. Look out for the quicksand and be ready for the tricks ahead in the pyramid. World 3's Waterland, original. The world is all wet. Only a great swimmer will be able to get through. Do your best to find a frog suit. It'll help you immensely. World 4 is Giant Land. In this world, everything, the mountains, the rivers, the terrain, even the enemies are huge. Even Super Mario is small compared to the giants he will meet here. World 5 is Skyland. Skyland has many difficult sections. Raccoon Mario's flying ability is bound to help him here. World 6 is Iceland. Everything is slippery in Iceland. Be cautious as you proceed. This world is big. You may find some interesting items. World 7 is Pipe Land. Left and right, it seems that all you can see is a maze of pipes, despite only having like 2 pipe maze levels in it. With so many pipes around, there's bound to be lots of life to plant life to try to slow down Mario. Don't get discouraged. You're very close to your goal. But Bowser Land itself here doesn't actually have, or Darkland actually doesn't have a bio. The closest you got is, I think that's Lemmy going, how far can Mario go? I hope he doesn't make it this far. Dad has many complicated tricks waiting for him in the Darkland. I've even heard of some new weapon that Dad's been making, which I'm assuming is meant to be these. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 8, we're going to go finish off the game. See you guys then.